It is absolutely my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. And in addition to being a good friend of mine for over 20 years, Scot Case is the VP of Sustainability at the National Retail Federation, the world's largest trade association for retailers. His focus on the intersection of business, environmental, and social concerns since the mid-1990s. And for those of you in the cleaning industry, you may recall the original Sins of Greenwashing. Well, that was a project that Scot co-authored. And perhaps, Scot, we need to do another one on the sins of sustainability washing. Mm. With strategic leadership experience in the retail, quick service restaurant, manufacturing, and nonprofit sectors, Scot provides a system-wide perspective that helps NRF members thrive in a rapidly changing future. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Scot, beyond his intelligence and his passion for the subject, is frankly that he's very knowledgeable about the cleaning industry and really had an incredible impact on the development of green cleaning. And sometime perhaps we can do another presentation on that. But with that, Scot, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, thank you, Steve. It's always fun to hang out with the father of green cleaning. So let's do this.
All right. So first of all, Scot, why does NRF care about sustainability?
So Steve, that's an easy one. So the National Retail Federation, we are a trade association of retailers, the largest trade association of retailers, and our members care about sustainability. So just like your cleaning customers care about sustainability, so you need to care about sustainability, NRF cares about sustainability because one, it's important, and two, our members care.
All right, so as VP of Sustainability, how are you thinking about keeping score? You know, what are your thoughts about frameworks or metrics? And what do you think not only is important currently, but what may be important in the future?
Yeah, so it's kind of fun, again, being in this kind of trade association world. We just kind of generally embrace the idea that each of our members is on their own journey in the sustainability space. So a lot of times what we're doing is just kind of supporting the metrics that our members are using. With that said, however, there are certainly some 36 retailers that are using the Science-Based Targets Initiative to set their climate change goals, which requires them to address Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 emissions, while others are really leaning very, very heavily into the social dimensions of sustainability, and some are really recognizing they've got to look at that holistic definition of sustainability. So my real goal is progress among all of our members along all dimensions of sustainability.
Interesting. And I'm sure with such a big membership, with such diversity among your members, that sounds like a really smart strategy. And frankly, we may have to copy you.
Lots of great lessons that I picked up hanging out with my friends at ISSA over the years.
Well, that's kind of you. So as you start doing this and you see people moving on their own paths, what kind of trends are you seeing?
I think the trends kind of fall into a couple of key buckets. One, rapid acceleration in this space. The idea that sustainability is some kind of nice to have, that's an old, antiquated relic from 2010 at most. Everyone sees sustainability as incredibly important to growing numbers of consumers. So that's key. Everyone's all in. I think second is really this kind of growing recognition that when you're looking at the sustainability of retail, it's not just the store operations, it's not just logistics, it's not just the warehouse. All of those things only represent 5% of a retailer's sustainability footprint. That means 95% is baked into the supply chains. So sustainable retail is all about sustainable suppliers, sustainable supply chains, and having the right kind of sustainability data to make better, more informed, more meaningful decisions.
Awesome. I'm seeing that everywhere we work as well. And, I really appreciate that, frankly, NRF has you to help sort of lead them down their paths. And as you do that, I suspect, and actually, candidly, I know that some of your members are ahead of others, right? I know you've been working with some of these retailers literally for decades, while others, I'm sure, are laggards who are dragging their feet. And it's even challenging to get them to do the simplest things like tracking and reporting. And I mention this because I suspect we'll find some of the same issues in the cleaning industry. So where I'm going with this is, do you have any suggestions on a winning game plan for both the short and long term that you might use in NRF, and suggestions you might have for us?
Yeah, I think one, and Steve, you've stated it beautifully, right? To a certain extent, when you're dealing with lots of different members of the same industry, you just kind of accept the fact that some are going to be leaders and some are going to be laggards. I think what I'm really seeing, though, is that the laggards are beginning to realize exactly how far behind they are. Some of the people in your industry and in the broader retail industry, they have been doing it for pushing 30 years. And it's taken them 30 years to get where they are. All of these people that have decided to adopt we're going to be a fast mover, we're not going to be the front, we're just going to respond quickly. You might be really, really far behind and not realize how far behind you are. So I think that's what we're seeing in the retail space, as a lot of the folks that decided they didn't want to be first, they just wanted to be a fast follower, are beginning to realize they're going to have to work 3, 4, 5 times as hard just to stay in the race.
Interesting. And I suspect you're absolutely correct. And hopefully the project that we're working on will provide some tools that will help some of these folks catch up and really do a great job with their sustainability efforts. So last question for you, pal. And this is sort of 2 parts. First is, do you have any advice for those on our call who want to pursue a career in corporate sustainability leadership? And separately, do you have any advice to those who are starting the journey towards sustainability within their own organization as to first steps or early steps that you think are essential ingredients to being successful?
Wow, yeah. So two kind of different kinds of questions there. So question one, how do you jump into a career in sustainability? I talk to students all the time. Number one, get a job. Number two, make it a sustainability job. In the retail space and increasingly in every other industry, every job has a sustainability connection. So it's just trying to figure it out. I can imagine, store operations people in the retail saying, hey, I'm only in charge of cleaning. I don't have anything to do with sustainability, until they begin to realize, wait a minute, that is a key part of the broader retail movement's push towards sustainability. So yeah, they also have a sustainability role. Kind of how do you get your organization started? I've found the most effective way to get an organization started is to start with just a simple benchmarking exercise. How does your organization stack up against others? Along with, when you kind of see what that gap is, begin to do some back of the napkin calculations. How long will it take us to catch up with them? So sometimes people say, oh, the gap's only this big. But if it's going to take 5 years or 10 years to close that gap, you better get moving.
Scott, thank you very much for your time. You are awesome. You are greatly appreciated. And hopefully the project, and I know all ISSA members, it would really be our pleasure to be able to support your efforts. So thank you again. We really do appreciate your time.
It's always fun, Steve. It's been great. Thank you.